What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Kolby back again with another episode of this thing that I'm trying to do. I haven't quite come up with a name for it yet, but I'll get you a name pretty soon. But the idea is to conduct an interview with either a former K-State player or coach once a week for an entire year. So to have 52 interviews for you to have on your YouTube, you can listen in on my radio show on Wildcat 91.9. I'm the executive sports producer for Wildcat 91.9 KSDB Manhattan, the K-State student radio station. And it is just my utmost pleasure to have none other than a former K-State player, a Big 12 champion, and a fullback of legendary status in Travis Wilson. Travis, thank you for being on the show.
Kolby, thank you so much. Got to throw up the Wildcat for that for sure.
Absolutely.
Big 12 champion. It's always great to hear that. And hopefully the boys can keep rolling that direction this year. So
yeah, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But first, I just wanted to get kind of the background scoop on you. How did you even end up at K-State? What's the story there?
Man, it's actually a long story. So again, growing up in Michigan, I went to Howell High School and I was recruited by Nick Saban up to Michigan State University. When Nick Saban actually made his move to leave to LSU, it was one of those things that, like, as a young kid and somebody that joined a program, I really wanted to win, especially at my position at fullback. You know, that's the biggest thing I was interested in, was winning for a team. You know, I'm never going to be the quarterback. I'm never going to be the wide receiver or the running back that gets all the accolades, but I want to be part of a team that wins, right? So when Nick Saban left, I was like, you know what, I'll give it one more shot. I played the next year under Bobby Williams, which I absolutely love Bobby Williams at Michigan State. But he just wasn't, you know, what we needed at head coach at that time. And I put my film out to really all the schools across the country that I thought may have a chance to win a national championship. And Kansas State was like the first to really grab a hold of me. And they said, hey, we love your film. We love what you can do on the field. Come down and visit us. And they offered me a scholarship. And I went down there and I just fell in love with the town, the program, the facilities, the coach, the coaching staff for that matter. And that's how I got to Kansas State University.
So did you do all 4 years at the university?
So no, I did 2 years at Michigan State.
Okay.
Transferred in.
Gotcha.
Had to sit out 1 year because, of course, transfer portal wasn't an option at the time. And then I played 2 more years. So my junior and senior year, I was the captain of the squad at Kansas State University.
Okay, yep. Cool. Yeah, well, so the reason that I asked that is because if my math is correct, then your first year was what, 1999 of college?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I was born in 1999, so that's why I asked that. Because I like to think I have a pretty decent memory of who was playing what position. And it was too early for me. I vaguely remembered the 2003 game, the championship, because my dad was so excited, and that's all I remember from it. But yeah, so talk to me about then what was specific to you and your skill position, and what made you special at it. Because I mean, Kansas State, I mean, they're kind of known for some of the fullback use that they had, especially, you know, some of that I formation stuff that they would run with Coach Snyder. But then again, why not try to go to somewhere like Army, where that's like the fullback is the center of attention, right? That triple option. Maybe not somewhere else like that. Maybe Texas. They would probably stop running the wishbone by then. But yeah, so like what was special about you that stood out to Kansas State?
Well, to me, what was special was, again, that family tradition that they had within Manhattan. And then also running the option and running like more of an advanced like veer off the option. So like I knew I was going to be featured where I could block for my tailback, I could block for my quarterback, and then thirdly, possibly get the ball in my hands, you know, coming out into the flat, possibly running some routes. I had done that at Michigan State already and caught a couple of touchdowns early on in my career. So I wanted to have that option where, like, hey, I know I'm a lead blocker, but I also have some good talent when I get the ball in my hands. And I knew all of those would still be open to me at Kansas State.
So what was special about that 2003 team? What? Because you went 4-0,
Mhm.
then you lose to Marshall, then you have
Yeah.
ranked Oklahoma State, ranked Texas, and before you know it, it's week 7 and you're 4-3, and you're like, what's going on? We were top 5 in the country. We should
Yeah.
be like right up there for a national championship. What's happening? But then you end the season 11-4, and you have that incredible signature win against Oklahoma. What was just that entire season like?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna make me cry asking me a question about that. I mean, honestly, like it's the guys, like it's the guys in your locker room, it's the coaches, it's the people and the supporting staff. Like we just knew going into that season, like how special we were and how close we were. And you know, I've told a lot of people about this, but when we went to that Big 12 championship against Oklahoma, we're sitting on the sidelines, and actually Oklahoma scores first, right? So they
Mm-hmm.
score the first touchdown. And I remember looking down the sidelines and looking at everybody's eyes, and like nobody wavered. And I knew at that point, actually, when Oklahoma scored the first touchdown, that we were going to absolutely destroy them the rest of the game. So to me, like it was the heart of the program. And like there were a lot of different guys from a lot of different areas all around the country. And again, it didn't matter where you were from or who you were before, but you were part of that 2003 team, and everybody came together as one to win that Big 12 championship.
So, because I don't particularly remember actually that game, I do remember
Mm-hmm.
the video that came out after it of the stand up for the champions by Right
Yeah.
Said Fred, where it's like all the highlights and you have Wyatt Thompson shouting in the background and all the crazy stuff. And I actually used that in my personal life as motivation. I'm like, these guys showed up and did what everybody said was impossible, but they believed. Belief, right? The belief in
Yeah.
yourself, belief in your teammates, belief in your coaches. And it was very apparent that you were the better coach team that day.
Agreed.
And that Bill Snyder just completely outcoached Bob Stoops, and that it was meant to be. And it's such a legendary like K-State thing. It's always great to talk to somebody from that championship team, because that game in specific, I think a lot of people forget kind of the adversity of the beginning of
Yeah.
that year because of those 3 games that you dropped. And it was like, what are we doing? Like, we're
Yeah.
4-3. What's happening? We're Kansas
Yeah.
State. We're not supposed to be 4-3. And then you powered 4 and only put up 1 loss on the season. It was in the bowl game. And you should have won that one too. You were right there. It was like 38-35, Ohio State, something like that. Yeah. So
correct. 35-28, I think, against
35-28.
Ohio
Yeah.
State. Yeah. And again, like that's a tough loss to us as a team, but I would really say like the peak of that season was that Big 12 championship game where we really all came together and really just sort of showed the world. I mean, people were saying that Oklahoma at that point was probably the best college football team that had ever taken the field.
Yeah.
And they gave us no shot. So for us to come in and beat them the way we did on a neutral field was huge to us as a team, you know.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, that 2002, 2003, there was like a home and home against USC. Was that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Pete Carroll talked about after he left USC and went on to the Seahawks that the most hostile environment that he ever coached in was Bill Snyder Family Stadium. And that's a testament to Kansas State. It's a testament to the culture of the university and the athletics program. But talk to me about that specific game. Because it's always goes down for the blocked kick. Terrence Newman takes it back. Everybody's like, what is happening? This is USC that should be competing for a national championship, and little Kansas State's beating them up. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I totally agree. I mean, to have USC on our schedule at that point was like a huge, like, put Kansas State on the map, right?
Yeah.
And the year 2001, I had to sit out, so I did not transfer or I did not travel to that game out there. But the one where they came back to our place, I'm looking at it like, hey, I got Darren Sproles behind me, and I got guys like Troy Polamalu trying to go get him, right? So like when they kind of came into our house and we ended up beating them, really, I felt like, again, like we were that ascending team that people knew about, but I don't know if they completely took seriously. And when they came into Bill Snyder Stadium, like hey, you had to take us seriously or you were going to get wiped out. And that's what we did to USC, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's really awesome. So
Yeah.
2003, you have those 3 games that you lost. Marshall, then that's when everybody started pulling their hair out because, oh no, unranked Marshall upset Kansas State. I think it's the only time that they've beaten a top 5 team in their program history.
Yeah.
It's Kansas State.
It was a loss.
Of course, it's Kansas State. Well, fast forward 2022, Kansas State drops one to Tulane. And it's everybody starting to pull their hair out and saying, what are we doing? We have this roster. We have this quarterback. We have Deuce Vaughn. We've got all the pieces in place. And we only scored 17 on Tulane. What is happening? And now look where we at. We have a big time game against TCU on Saturday, this coming Saturday. And that's going to be a massive game with playoff implications, honestly, because I don't think Kansas State makes the playoff. I think that if they go 11-1, I still think that one loss to Tulane probably keeps them out. But I mean, it definitely conference implications. If you beat TCU in Fort Worth this weekend, then you have a whole game lead in Big 12 standing. If you don't, at least you're only 1 game behind. And I don't know. I didn't take TCU particularly seriously, but after that come from behind win against Oklahoma State, double overtime, I said, okay, maybe I am wrong about my assessment of the Horned Frogs. So how are we feeling about Kansas State football in 2022?
So again, just like you mentioned, like a very talented, very skilled team that dropped one early to a team that I think were more talented than, just very similar to the 2003 team. So I actually texted one of my teammates, Antoine Polite, that I've caught up with recently. And I was like, oh my God, if that's not the Marshall game that we lost in our, senior year, like, I don't know what is, so like, I believe they have the talent to like win out. They just have to really stay like ultra focused. They do. This TCU team, based on the way they played, they really have a challenge coming up. But I feel like the way we've played and with the talent we have and with the way the coaches have coached these guys and the way the defense is playing, like, I feel like it's just like so eerily similar to like the way we played in 2003 that they have to go out there and just, win it with their hearts, and with their talent that they have on the field.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. Yeah. What are the similarities? You played with Darren Sproles. That's super cool. What are the similarities between Darren Sproles and Deuce Vaughn in your mind?
So to me, it's probably almost like the off the field stuff. I see like in interviews and like the little things that both Deuce and Darren did. So like Darren, of course, like, the first thing when people ask me about him, like, how was it to play with Darren? Well, he was a great person and he's got a great family and he had a great work ethic. And I feel that same thing comes out with Deuce Vaughn. Like, a lot of people have made a big deal about like his blocking and his plays away from when he has the ball in his hands. So those type of things, like, again, that shows like the love that those players have for their team. And it's regardless of whether or not they get the spotlight shown on them, it's really what they are as a person and how they are as a player and how they respect their teammates. So to me, that's probably the biggest sort of connection between those two players is like, they don't really care whether or not the spotlight's shown on them. They want to win, and they want to win as a team. And I think that really comes down to what K-State's always been about.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got 3 quick parting questions for you, and then we'll finish up our time. The first one is, and most importantly, Crocs and socks. How do we feel about Crocs and socks?
So socks in Crocs,
or you wear Crocs and socks, kind of like the Crocs and sandals, like flip-flops kind of debate.
So I would say I'm more of like a Red Wings boots guy. So and not usually too much Crocs and socks. So if I'm going to go without socks, I'll even go Red Wings on that. So I live in Michigan where it's a little bit colder. So I'm a Red Wings guy, not too much of a Crocs guy, but I'm either sneakers or Red Wings.
Okay, there you go. My second pressing question is what is your favorite memory as your time as a Wildcat? If you had to say this is it, what memory would it be?
My favorite memory would probably be the fact that we won that Big 12 championship together as a team. Like, to come in, like, really with all the adversity and everybody telling, the naysayers saying like, there's no way you have a chance to win this game, and to win it at Arrowhead in front of our family, our friends, and really just like prove to the country and the world, like, hey, we're a program that's on the map. I would say probably that Big 12 championship would be my shining moment. And then, sidely, I would just put like all the inside jokes and all the funny stuff that you just like share with like all your teammates in the locker rooms. Like, to all those guys, like, I love them to death and I miss them all to this day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Then my final thing is that if you had any parting words for the current K-State family, for the current K-State team that you'd want them to see, what would you have to say?
Yeah, I would just really say keep doing what you're doing. I mean, the love down in Manhattan and the K-State pride that we have with the purple, just keep that going, and let's go ahead and work for this Big 12 championship in 2022.
All right. You've been talking with Travis Wilson, former K-State player, Big 12 champion. Travis, I appreciate your time coming out to chat with me about this. And I'm so glad that you were my first interview for this little endeavor that I've got going on. I'm looking forward to many more in the future, but appreciate it. My name is Kolby Van Camp, and you've been listening and / watching to Wildcat 91.9 KSDB Manhattan. What's going on, YouTube? It's Kolby Van Camp. Thank you for sticking around to finish out my video. It'd mean a lot to me if you'd hit the like, smash subscribe, and ring the heck out of that bell so that you never miss another one of my athletic coverage videos. Again, looking forward to our next time. See you soon.